station for North Georgia sports, 97.5 Glory FM. It's 9:05 at 97.5 Glory FM. And welcome once again to the Saturday Morning Sports Show. And welcome once again live here to the Sports Center at 97.5 Glory FM. Mike Wofford with you until 10 o'clock this morning, talking high school, college, and pro sports. Until 10, we've got a special guest in the studio here to kick things off this morning. As last night here on 97.5 Glory FM, we were at North Hall High School for the opening round of the Class AAA State Football Playoffs. North Hall coming out with an exciting, thrilling 21-14 victory over the Gilmer Bobcats. And joining us this morning, you'll see on our YouTube channel at Team Glory Sports. And we invite you to get everybody to go to our YouTube channel at Team Glory Sports to see Coach Sean Pender, the head coach of the North Hall Trojans, joining us this morning. Thanks, Sean, for joining us this morning. Appreciate it very much.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So first I'll tell you about you. You're playing dad this morning and also coach and guest with me this morning because your daughter's swimming for North Hall over at the Francis Meadows Aquatic Center.
She is. She's a swimmer. She's a middle school swimmer, and she's swimming in 4 events today. And the events that she's in are completely spread out. Like her first event's like number 4. Her last event's like event 36. So we're going to be there all day long, enjoying that atmosphere.
That's going to be something special. Talk about something special last night. That was really something. The atmosphere there at the Brickyard, and something special about playing at home in the state playoffs there.
Oh, without a doubt. And you know, this is my first experience with the playoff. At home at the Brickyard. I've only been here 3 years, and you know we got a home one, and they talk about Brickyard magic. Well, I finally found out what that was about last night with some great great overtime victory.
The magic took place when that ball for the potential game-winning field goal bounced off the crossbar.
Yeah, it was.
That was one of the things that happened last night.
Yeah, one of them. I mean, the way that game went, it was crazy. It was they had an opportunity and they kicked and missed, and we got a rough in the kicker, and then we gave them 15 yards closer, and then they kicked and missed it again, and gave us an opportunity to go into overtime. We were able to take advantage of it.
So last night, North Hall won over Gilmer by a score of 21-14 in overtime, and it's close to the game you're going to ever find. And you say, okay, there's a team that probably should not have gotten into the playoffs with the old system. They were the number 5 seed, but it showed how really tough North Georgia football can be with the team like Gilmer played last night.
Well, and how evenly distributed it is. Like even in our region, we haven't won any games, like really blowout games, with any of the teams that actually made it to the playoffs or right there on the verge in our own region. You know, we had teams like Pickens and White County, and that we that didn't even make the playoffs, that we just just got by, and it was kind of the same thing for us last night in the first round.
You and I were talking on game plan, getting ready for the game last night, and we had that on the air. You were talking about the preparation for Gilmer. You had 2 weeks to get ready for the ball game. One really to prepare for you, so you didn't know who you were going to play until last weekend, and then getting ready for Gilmer. And you sort of knew what you were going to get by what Coach Paul Sanders done in the past.
Well, yes. I mean, we had an idea in week 1 that could be one of or the first bye during the bye week of who it could have been, but we weren't real sure. But all fingers were pointing to like a Daresville. Yes. So we were kind of more prepping for that style. But then when we found out we were going to get Gilmer, and you're going to get that traditional foot-to-foot split veer with a little bit of wing tee mixed in there. And you were right when we were talking the other day, because they do a little bit of wing tee stuff that was in there. I guess I could be a little bit of Bob Christmas influence there.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, for them, you can't hardly replicate that in practice to get ready for a game, can you?
We tried hard. I mean, hats off to our defensive staff for what they are trying to put together. And Joe Kemp he runs our scout team offense, and he would have all the scout team guys in there. He made them watch extra film on Gilmer, and they practiced in any type of downtime we had of trying to replicate that offense. Of course, when you're trying to replicate it just in 1 week, you're definitely not going to be as efficient as the team you're playing. But we sure gave it our best shot.
We're talking with Coach Sean Pender here on 97.5 Glory FM with the Saturday Morning Sports Show online at WGTJRadio.com with a live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports. And we noticed Gary Glenn down the sidelines, though, that Gilmer was not as big as they have been in the past in the line of scrimmage, but you see they block differently, don't they?
Oh, that now. I don't know how big they were in the past, but
big.
Yeah, but their offensive line, they weren't big in height, but they were very stout.
Good way to say it.
They were very stout offensive linemen. They were strong, and their D line was too. I mean, teams have not been able to run the ball efficiently on them in between the tackles, and that was our run game is mostly in between the tackles. So we had to get on the edges a lot more versus them. But their offensive line with that foot-to-foot split did a really good job on a good defensive line that we have. That I would say is probably the strength of our team.
Well, I mentioned in our pregame show last night, as you see, two teams that had different characteristics when it comes to playing football. I thought we'd throw the football, but not nearly as much. What a great game again by Smith McGarvey throwing the football, and not that many rushes for the Trojans last night.
No, we just the game plan was to try to get the ball on the perimeter with what they were doing, and we told Smith that hey, a lot of this game's going to come off of your arm, and so he was prepared for that, and the receiver stepped up and played very well. I mean, I think Ty Kemp had around 7 or 8 catches, so did Cole Cable. He had around the same amount, and then Luke Jenkins coming out of the backfield had some catches where he's usually running the ball. Parker had a couple catches, and he's usually running the ball. We were just trying to get it to who we could out there in the flats, so we can try to take advantage of the areas of coverage where they were playing soft.
Let's talk about how the game ended. North Hall is tied with Gilmer 14-14. Trojans have the ball driving inside the minute, going for the victory, and then potential disaster struck when a great defensive play, interception to Smith, and then we're calling the play going downfield. Thought they might go all the way for the touchdown, but a great defensive play to stop them, and then a great defensive hold to keep the ball game alive going into overtime.
Yeah, it looked like we were in a position to go ahead and kick the game-winning field goal ourselves in regulation. We had the ball first down, and we had a quick little out route called to the sideline just to try to catch the ball and get out of bounds again. And, just unfortunately, when Smith got the ball and he went to throw that, one of their D linemen just kind of jumped up in the air, got in his face, and then he tried to scramble around, and he saw Cole open on a long outright, but it was going to be a long throw, and he tried to force the throw when he was off balance and underthrew it, and their defensive guy picked it off, and we were able to get a tackle around midfield, and then we had a penalty tacked on to give them even extra yards. But yeah, our defense bowed their necks right there at the end and made them where they had to attempt a long field goal, and then
your heart had to stop because we go down to the final play of the ball game. They're attempting a field goal, and it's missed. We think the ball game's over, but then we see a flag on the field, roughing the kicker again, and then they had to bring in another kicker and 15 yards closer to the field, to the goal, to get the winning score. No time on the clock, and then it bounces off the upright. Then you go into overtime. So tell me, first off, your emotions there at the end of the ball game say, okay, now we got another chance.
Yeah, it was just you thank God for opportunities that you get, and he gave us an opportunity, and we were able to take advantage of that. And the goal line stop that Buddy Clark made. We got a nice little story I'd like to share with you about that happened with that stop. And Coach Gary Mentier, who's our defensive coordinator, we were talking about it earlier, and then it just came to fruition. So backing up a little bit, Shane Clark, who passed away this summer, was our linebacker coach, and Buddy Clark is his son. And back when they were in junior Trojans ball a long time ago, Shane would Shane would just grab Buddy and like throw him into like the Oklahoma drills and just like throw him into the hole when he's a kid, just so he wouldn't be scared to go in there and have contact. And he was always really aggressive with it. Matter of fact, one of our battle cries that we had this year is a saying that Shane Clark did. It was like, whatever we do, we want to do it with physicality, and be hard with it. And this has been a tough year on Buddy with losing his dad, and but it was just what his dad prepared him for and all this stuff. And then to be in a position in the first round of the playoffs to have the stop to secure the game on 4th down. Sure enough, they ran the play that the drill Oklahoma prepares you for, inside ISO type play, and Buddy came in there, and it was like you can relive, like if it was a movie, you can just imagine the flashbacks in that scene, coming back in and showing Buddy getting thrown into the Oklahoma, fire by his dad in that moment. And then when they actually collided and they hit, Buddy ended up making a tremendous hit. I mean, you heard that hit all through the stadium. And then when he hit their running back, he was a very good running back, and drove him backwards. And then the rest of the defense just piled in there, and we made the stop. It was like pandemonium. It was awesome. It was definitely
that was the thing of the emotions of you and the team there with that stop. I always say defense wins championships, and that was a great idea of how it proves to be true.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a great feeling that happened, and sure enough, Gary Mintier, my defensive coordinator, we looked at each other and we were like, thank goodness. And we're like, thanks for your help, Shane, because his influence and the things he's did, and that mentality that he's able to instill in our boys, and definitely what he instilled in his son Buddy was tremendous last night.
Tell me about the adjustments during the game. Halftime, for example, not the great first half for North Hall, but able to get that touchdown toward the end of the first half. What did you do at halftime?
Well, on the offensive side of the ball, we didn't do anything different. You go back.
You didn't have the ball much, did you?
No, we didn't. But the thing that you had to do against a team that's going to hold the ball like Gilmer is you have to make the most of your opportunities when you have them.
Right.
Our first drive, we were driving nice and easy, or not nice and easy, but efficiently. And then we get kind of close to the red zone, and we had this little pump play called, and receiver was wide open, and we just threw it off target. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happened in our second drive on a big play opportunity. And we the penalties that would put you behind the sticks, and that plagued both teams. I mean, when Gilmer had the football and they weren't getting penalties to put them behind the sticks, it was very hard to stop their offense. And it's the same thing with us. Even though we both have different philosophies, if you don't get put behind the sticks with little penalties here and there, both of our offenses, even though they're different philosophies, are very, very difficult to stop. And that's just was the case. And in the beginning, in the first half for us, we were just getting unlucky. We weren't making the plays that we needed to make. We had penalties that helped with the stoppage of drives. And then in the second half, we were able to put it together a little bit better and finish those drives that we weren't finishing in the first.
One thing you can credit Gilmer with, to me, is that it didn't matter if it was 1st and 10 or 1st and 40. They would, end up running the same thing to try to be successful. Yeah,
but I'm not going to call that credit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but for them, what I'm saying, the next point though, Sean, is that I think it's going to get you ready for the next round because you see what you got to do to stop that kind of thing.
Without a doubt, or the next time we play a team that runs the same type of offense. Because right now, just to be honest with you, I mean, we've traditionally we've struggled against the option. We struggled against it. Last year when we played against Madison County, if you remember, the games we've had against them. I mean, the teams that have run the football most effectively on us have been option style offenses. Yeah. But
all right, so now you get ready for a team called Upson Lee out of Thomaston, out of Middle Georgia, and another very good football team. So you already been from last time I saw you last night to now, getting ready for this game. Or how's it been?
Well, mentally trying to get ready for it. I haven't watched them on film yet. offered to do the film exchange last night, but by the time I went to bed last night, and it was like 2 a.m. We still didn't have the film exchange, and so I got up this morning and let the dogs out and took my daughter to swim, and I came here. So I haven't had the opportunity yet to get on the film and
so
watch.
Everybody know too. What's the usual schedule? First thing I know, Gary's favorite saying is that practice on Monday. So that's one of the big things. So how is the schedule now getting ready for the next playoff game?
Well, for us, Saturday. First of all, when you trade film, now through Huddle in the playoffs, we're trading everything, and we have the type of staff that likes to watch everything that we have. So, Friday night's over. We enjoyed it. Slept on it, and we'll enjoy it today. Saturday, we have more family time with our coaching staff, but we're going to watch the film and do our corrections and stuff early, and then Sunday we'll come in and we'll meet all the way until the job's done, and we try to get the plans ready for next week. And it's something I'm kind of toying with, because now we're going into, I don't even know what, 13, 14 weeks of playing football, and some of the guys are banged up and bruised. So I'm toying with, Mondays and Tuesdays are usually my most physical practices. So we might like back off on the physicality a little bit on Monday, and then Tuesday be normal. But we correct a lot of mistakes on Monday. We install the game plan on Monday, and we run around, probably pay a little bit more attention to special teams and really fixing our own mistakes, and then Tuesday is going to be a grind practice. It's going to be really physical, getting after it and trying to prep, and it's going to be longer. Our Tuesday practice are a little bit longer. Wednesday we get into all types of game situations that we do. We drive the field. We'll do stuff backed up, coming off the goal line. We'll do stuff going into the goal line. We'll work short yardage, long yardage, all different type of situations, and we play them off of the special teams. And then Thursday, we just do a run through. We try to keep our legs fresh. We do Thursdays in the morning time. Practice on those days don't last more than 45 minutes. And then here we go. It's game day.
Well, it's been exciting, the fact how close it was, but hopefully it'll be as close next Friday night for us and win and advance on to the quarterfinals, and so you can celebrate Thanksgiving by playing another game on that Friday. But the one thing I know people who know football say you got to work on these penalties. Is that something you can really coach?
We always harp on it. We harp on it, but when you play the type of style football we play, we're going to play with aggression, and we're going to get after it. And when you had a kid really getting after it, and the penalty they make's an effort penalty, of trying to do something, because most times when you make a penalty, it is a mistake of some sort. Sometimes penalties can be very subjective. It shouldn't be that way.
Well,
but
I was going to say three.
But it tends
three
to be
times
that way.
you get called for an illegal man downfield. It's like I have done it in a long time.
Yeah, and again, it's not knowing your associations and how things go. I mean,
and they all call differently, don't they?
They do, and this association is not really familiar.
And that's part of
with
the adjustment, isn't it?
Correct, absolutely, and that's something that we had to really harp on our guys about. I mean, one of the times that we had a guy, we did it's an aggressive type of run blocking, but it's a pass play, and we were engaged, and our guy was still engaged with him, but he drove block him. Well, he's engaged. To me, that is. Well, not just to me. If you actually look at the white book, that is not a penalty when you're drive blocking somebody happens to be downfield. But that happened last night. That was one of those three was off of a guy being engaged. Another one, the same offensive lineman. Matter of fact, he had no one to block, and he just kind of drifted. But he drifted upfield maybe 4 yards, and the side judge saw that, and he threw another one downfield, and another one happened on, our alignment with the receivers. Our one receiver points to the ref, says he's on, and there's, in my opinion, there's a clear distinction between the two, but the official on the side said two guys were lined up, and we covered one up. So that was the other one. It wasn't a man downfield, but those are frustrating penalties that we need to make sure don't happen, and most of those I believe all those were in the first half, and then we talked about it at halftime, and we didn't have any of those penalties in the second.
All right, so have you ever coached against a team that never threw the football in a game? There was not even one attempt last night by Gilmer.
Yeah, it's probably happened, but it's very, very few times. No, they didn't even attempt to throw it. They stuck to what their game plan was, and they believe in what they do, and they didn't try to throw it not one time.
So we know it's going to be different Friday night. We don't even know what kind of style Upson Lee has, but that's going to be the fun part about it. See, it's going to be totally different. I know.
Oh, without a doubt, it's going to be different. We haven't seen them on film yet, but we do know, judging by their stats, that they do run and throw the football. They're pretty balanced. I have a feeling it's going to be a real similar style to what we do.
All right. Listen, and thanks for coming in this morning. Now you can come in anytime. Come in later. We'll take you over to the Long Street Cafe. We'll have breakfast afterwards, that kind of thing. But enjoy your time over at Francis Meadows with the swimming today.
Oh, yeah. Morgan Schmidt, that's my daughter. She's going to get after it today and hopefully help North Hall, which our North Hall swim team is really good. I mean, they've won the Hall County Championship several years in a row now. And Morgan, she's really enjoying swimming. And
they're just starting their season, aren't they?
They are. They're in the beginning of their season. And she's going to get after it. She's going to do the breaststroke today. She's going to do the freestyle. She's going to do the backstroke. So she's doing all sorts of different events today. So I'm excited to watch her get after today and watch my daughter compete.
You got a pool in the backyard?
No, I don't.
Neat one, then, don't you? That's amazing that everybody swims down at Francis Meadows. That's the home place, home for everybody, and it's like, okay, you can build a lot of relationships there too.
Oh, for sure. I thought you meant like in our own backyard.
I did. You might have one.
No, we'll just throw her in the lake and make her swim across.
There you go.
And if she survives, we know she's going to be a good swimmer.
All right, Sean. Thanks much, man. Appreciate it very much. That's Coach Sean Pender, the head coach of the North Hall Trojans. Coming up next, we got much more for you here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM.
Siphon Logistics' commitment is to provide you, the customer, with on-time pickup and delivery every time. Members of the Siphon family have been in the transportation business since 1984. The Siphon Logistics transportation professionals are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, providing maximum flexibility and options to produce the most successful shipping arrangements. Call Siphon Logistics at 770-287-8485 and take a look at their website at siphonlogistics.com.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
This is Representative Lee Hawkins, your representative to the state legislature. I want to wish all the local athletes in our area the very best this season. Your team is very important to the success of our community, and I look forward to seeing you play this year and to see what you accomplish in the classrooms and in the community. I also look forward to serving you and your family in the state legislature. This message paid for by the committee to re-elect Lee Hawkins.
Thank you, North Hall. This is Chris Kinsey with Millie's Drapery and Decorating, and we would like to thank the North Hall community for their continued support. Since 1968, my family has provided the area with beautiful custom drapery, bedding, upholstery, blinds, shades, and more. If you would like some help with your interior design project, give us a call and we'll schedule one of our talented designers to give you an in-home consultation and estimate for your project. Call us at 770-532-3819.
We're back on 97.5 Glory FM, talking with one of the doctors from NGPG Ortho and Sports Medicine. We're talking with Dr. Brett Meeks, one of the surgeons there. And Dr. Meeks, enjoyed talking with you last time. Tell me about some of the more specific injuries that you see people that walk into your clinic there in Gainesville.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. I think one of the most common injuries I see as a sports medicine surgeon is certainly an ACL tear, an ACL rupture. It's one of the most common surgeries I perform is ACL reconstruction, and that's very common during football and basketball season, but really any cutting and pivoting sport, so including lacrosse, volleyball, soccer. These are very common injuries, and they certainly get a lot of press, whether that's with high school, collegiate, and even professional athletes. But typically, we see those injuries, and the goal is to have the patient appropriately rehabbed, have the swelling down. Sometimes we send patients to physical therapy before surgery just to make sure their motion's appropriate. And we like to get those folks into the operating room within usually 3 months of the injury. but oftentimes much quicker than that. So we like to try to get those folks back to competing and getting back to what they love to do as soon as possible.
Do we see the different injuries, say, in girls basketball players and boys basketball players? So with the twisting, we've seen girls just barely move from left to right, and all of a sudden the knee just goes. Or with a guy, they may be diving for a basketball, for example, and all of a sudden they start grabbing their knee. Something like that might have happened on a rebound. They may land wrong, and all of a sudden it seems like the knee might pop, that kind of thing. What do you usually see when it comes to that?
Yeah, typically, I think, a landing, twisting injury with sort of we call it a valgus moment to the knee, where the knee starts to kind of go in towards the midline with the foot planted. That's a very common mechanism of injury. There are certain anatomic factors that can predispose patients to injuries, but I think really just that kind of pivoting, twisting injury, whether male or female, it's just kind of that right movement that can tear the ACL. And most athletes will report that they hear a loud pop in the knee, followed by immediate pain and swelling. A lot of times difficulty bearing weights, and so that's probably the most common story that we hear from our athletes.
Are there different treatments for maybe a slight tear compared to a total tear of one of the ligaments?
Yeah, so typically, I would tell you far and away the most common thing we see is a complete ACL rupture. But there are scenarios where the ACL can be partially torn, but then the question becomes, is it functionally competent, right? So a lot of times if it's over 2/3 torn, it's really not doing its job as far as preventing that sort of movement of the shin bone towards the front. It can't control the knee like it's supposed to, and so in those folks, we basically consider that as a complete ACL tear, even though it's for all intents and purposes over 2/3 torn. So that's something that if we try to treat that conservatively and they're still having pain and instability, then that's something we can evaluate with an arthroscopic procedure, but ultimately usually ends up with an ACL reconstruction during surgery.
All right, and you can do the reconstruction arthroscopically, right?
That's correct, yes. So the arthroscopic part basically means we make small, minimally invasive poke holes, whether it's in the knee or the shoulder, and we put a camera into the knee joint or the shoulder joint, and we're able to kind of drive that camera around and use instruments through all these different portals, and that helps us try to be as minimally invasive as possible, but still be able to do everything we need to do inside the knee or the shoulder.
And that helps with rehab too, right?
That's correct, yeah. So there's been a lot of advancements with the arthroscopic surgery, and a lot of studies basically show whatever procedure you're talking about, whether it's a rotator cuff or ACL surgery, a lot of times patients can recover quicker as opposed to a big open procedure with a large incision.
So what's the common recovery time for an athlete, and do you let them go back into the particular sport after so many weeks or months?
Yeah, so just using the most common example of an ACL reconstruction, recovery time it's a long road with an ACL reconstruction. It's a 9 to 12 month recovery time to return to sport, and we always give patients that range from 9 to 12 months. Some patients that are motivated are ready to return at 9 months, but some take up to 12, and that really depends on how well they rehab with their physical therapist and how quickly they can strengthen their quadriceps muscle and do some different testing to kind of make sure they're safe to return and they're not predisposing themselves to a subsequent ACL injury.
So tell me where your office is located, sir.
Yeah, so my office is located in Gainesville in Medical Park 1. I see patients there off of Jesse Jewell. I'm there typically about 2 days a week in Gainesville, and then I also see patients in Dawsonville off of 400. I'm usually in Dawsonville 1 day a week, and my remaining time I'm in the operating room usually.
My thanks to Dr. Rhett Mix for joining us here from NGPG Ortho and Sports Medicine. We got much more for you coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM.
This football season, score big with Tim Hunt State Farm Insurance. From protecting your home to insuring your car and your life, State Farm offers plans to fit your needs, just like a perfectly executed play. Plus, with your local State Farm agent, Tim Hunt, in your corner, you'll have a personal quarterback who understands your community and your needs. State Farm, Highway 129, south of Cleveland.
Hi, I'm Tim Hunt. We're here to help life go right. Tim Hunt, State Farm.
Hi,
Hi, Hope Bunch, the voice of Longstreet Cafe.
Mary, did you know Longstreet Cafe supports great programs like FCA? Northeast Georgia FCA is working to see the world transformed by Jesus Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes.
And they do a great job of making their mission work through the E3 strategy of making disciples who make disciples. I remember that from my days in school.
Yeah, FCA has been around a while.
Hey now! Find out more at ghcfca.org.
If you need on-time expert plumbing service, Conditioned Air Systems is here for you. Our plumbers deliver the highest quality service in North Georgia 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We've been North Georgia's source for elite residential and commercial services since 1983. Our licensed plumbers offer services for installation and repairs of pipes, water heaters, septic lines, and sump pumps. Choose Conditioned Air Systems for quality service and unmatched knowledge for your plumbing needs.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Beaufort, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/blackandblue.
And back on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM. Thanks again to Coach Sean Pender joining me this morning. And the victorious coach of the North Hall Trojans advancing now to the second round, Sweet 16 round on Friday. They'll take on the Upson Lee Trojans. Upson Lee Knights taking on the Trojans coming up this Friday. Upson Lee out of Thomaston, Georgia. And our broadcast will start at 7:05 Friday with the Longstreet Cafe pregame show. Kickoff for Friday Night Football in North Georgia starts at 7:30 p.m. And one of the hardest working men in sports now working with us is our friend Harper LaBelle, joining us this morning and getting ready for another football game. Hey, Harper.
Well, good morning. Yeah, don't get the Knights and the Spartans.
No,
and
never.
The Trojans.
I'll never can't do that. No,
you don't. Yeah, don't do it on the air, especially Mike.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes, we are Trojans.
What a nice interview with Sean. I'm glad you asked him about the officiating too. I mean, what do we have? Over 30 penalties.
Yes.
And it just was, in a game that just between you and me in the back door is going to take maybe an hour and a half to play because all the running. Especially with overtime and the delays, it went for 3 hours. So
yes,
it more.
did. Like a college game, Harper.
Or a fantasy movie script.
Oh, it was that kind of game. Out. Yes, no doubt about that. That was something that we'll remember as local sports fans, North Hall fans, for a long, long time. And he says it. There's brickyard magic, and you see that ball bounce off the crossbar for one thing, and then winning in overtime, and Buddy Clark with that big stick there. And that's one of those plays, again, you'll remember for a long, long time. And we say again, defense wins championships, doesn't it?
You said it probably, if I had a nickel for every time you said it last night while we were talking, I'd be a very rich man today.
Dave Cohen in me, okay? That's what it is from that standpoint. But, you see how important it is. And, the offense can be shut down with a running game, for example. Smith McGarvey completed 25 passes last night, and that's what's amazing right there. And the different receivers and running backs he could throw the football to, and then it all came down to an overtime win. And let's hope we don't have that kind of excitement for your game today with Georgia State and also with the Falcons tomorrow against Denver. Tell me, you and I were talking, we were sort of concerned about the game with the Falcons last week with New Orleans playing there. With all they were going through, it was almost, say, one of those old sayings, a trap game, but it was like it's just something wasn't going for the Falcons at all in that game.
Well, anytime that Atlanta goes to New Orleans, anything could happen.
Uh-huh.
And a team that I thought had the ability to just go in there and actually dominate the game,
yep.
Especially with the losing streak that New Orleans was suffering under. But you know what? The guys on the other team, they watch film, they practice, they get highly paid, they work hard, they want to win too, and so opportunities to capitalize on mistakes is critical, and you got to play good defense as you just mentioned, and that bodes well for last week, and it will for this week. Denver is the number 4 defense in the league right now in terms of points given up. They're scrappy. There are a bunch of young guys there. Sean Payton is trying to build something. They got a rookie quarterback. Goodness gracious. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for anyone to go, no, you don't have a chance. Well, tell Kansas City that last week. They go into a situation with just a couple seconds on the clock, and unfortunately Denver misses a field goal, but they had a chance to beat the Chiefs and the Super Bowl champions, and the undefeated streak was all on the line, and Denver was this close, but just couldn't make it happen.
All right, so you mentioned the rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, right? And you saw him play college ball.
Well, I think a lot of people saw him play college ball in person from different parts of the country because of the transferring and moving around. But there are folks in Oregon that
the Georgia State-Auburn game a few years ago, you and Dave did. What he in that game?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't there, but
okay,
because of COVID restrictions.
Gotcha.
But
that's what it was. Yes.
But how they win that game, Dave will go to his grave and go, there's no way that should have happened. But,
exactly.
Bo Nix is there, and there's a couple of boo birds out there. How on earth could you be losing to this Georgia State team? Stop it. Get this thing together. Well, Bo goes to Oregon and ends up being a first-round draft pick. So he has certainly made lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the Broncos have gone through some quarterbacks recently too, haven't they?
Yeah, I think everyone that's been around Sean Payton is challenged if you're going to play quarterback for him. Obviously, Drew Brees is one of the guys that turned water into wine there and did a great job of running the offense and really leading a team that needed leadership. And obviously, great things happen. Drew will have his statue someday for the success that they had, the one Super Bowl win that quite obviously my Falcon fans are still bitter about.
Sure.
We don't have one.
That's right.
We've been to 2, and we're still waiting for the one. And New Orleans can always lick their finger, raise it up in the air, and draw a 1, an invisible 1 with their finger anywhere, and Atlanta's not able to do that yet.
All right, so tell me about playing out in Denver. You've been out there, of course, being in Colorado, playing college football there. How different is it playing there in the high altitude?
So when I was in Seattle, my very first year of making it in the league, this back in 1989, the Seahawks used to run around the field. They come out of the locker room, and they'd be in a single file line, and they kind of jog to the 50-yard line, then go across the field, and then come back towards the goal line, and then cut across the goal line and make your way into the lines. There were about 5 different lines that you had with 9 or 10 guys in them. And I was next to a guy named Ron Mattis, big 300-pound lineman, and I'm breathing hard, and Ron's going, this is just after a little jog to get out there. I go, Ron, how are we going to make it through the game if we can't even do a warm-up lap around the field? He goes, man, I can't stand playing in this place. But you get used to it after a while. You breathe more. But the altitude does make a difference. It really does. At 5,200 feet, Denver boasts about that as much as any marketing scheme that you could put together. That's a part of who they are and what they've been for years. So it does come into play.
That's the intimidation factor right there, isn't it?
Yeah, quite obviously, when someone says, I can't breathe, that's not good.
No. So when you play,
usually the other guy will go, okay, hold on, I'll wait for you. But the Broncos don't.
So when you played at Colorado State, how high was altitude there?
We were right at 5,000, like 4990, I think, where our field was. But Wyoming, just up the road a little bit, they're at 7,200.
Wow.
Air Force is over 7,000. So obviously a big difference. And some teams will go in a day early to acclimate. It doesn't work that way. With Denver being in the middle of the country, you're not going to go in an extra day, even if you're coming from, let's say, New England or even Miami. But it is a very distinct advantage. And when it gets cold, that makes it even a little harder.
So besides that, what kind of challenges do the Falcons face tomorrow?
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you like the play? Well, I think the consistency that you need to have, right? He's got 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. We don't really know a lot about Javonte Williams. He's rushed for under 400 yards. He's only got 2 touchdowns. So what are we going to see? Are we going to see a team that scores 40? Probably not. But are we going to see a team that will get you 21, maybe 24, and hold you to 17 going into the last drive of the game, that to me is the reality that the Falcons are facing right now. Unless they are able to kind of break the code and figure out how the linebackers cover and what mismatches they can get with Robinson and Kyle Pitts and hopefully a guy getting better, Drake London.
Oh, absolutely. So, for example, could Koo maybe go a few yards deeper with the field goals and maybe boot some for the Falcons?
Well, I've always said as a long snapper, the only time people want to talk to me is when I have a bad snap. And when you miss 2 field goals, that's when the press wants to say, "Hey, what's going on, Youngwei? How you doing now?" So whether it be a concentration thing or whatever, just a little bit of a miss. The thing about it is indoors. Now, this is going to be outdoors, so obviously the wind and the turf and everything else that you got to deal with, that's a little bit different than what you're used to. And hopefully it makes him focus a little bit more, and he nails and hits everything straight through the middle of the uprights.
You expect it, don't you?
I sure do.
Yes, exactly. All right.
A really good kicker. I was with Morton Anderson, who's a Hall of Famer, and he was right around 79, 80% for most of his career. So if you kick 4 out of 5 for me, that's an expectation.
Sure.
Absolutely. If you get 9 out of 10 for a couple of series out of 40, 50 kicks, and your average is 9 out of 10, you're going to the Pro Bowl, my friend.
So when you start saying home stretch for the NFL now, here we get to December then?
Well, we're in it now. I mean,
we're
in the back end.
Uh-huh.
Yes. But, obviously. So the way they used to do it is just break it down into 4-game little mini time periods. And whether that's in a month or whatever. Darryl Talley was the first guy when we got him from the Buffalo Bills. He tells the whole team, he goes, "Listen, we got to go 3-1, 3-1," and he repeats it 2 more times. And if we do that, we'll be division champs. We'll get a week off, and we'll get a home playoff game to start the playoffs. So that's what we need to do. Now with 17 games, and I think that you and I can both agree that in a very short period of time, they'll be with 18 games.
Oh, yeah.
Once they get that negotiated and work the money out. But the 3-1, 3-1, 3-1 is great.
Sure.
Denver is 5-5. We're just 6-4. So both teams need to improve if they're going to try to make a run at the division.
But go back to what you just said as we'll wrap things up with Harper LaBelle. Just 6-4, only 6-4. Go back to what we went through last year. Would the Falcon fans be happy with 6-4 right now?
Well, yes, and there were times with the division the way that it was, either New Orleans or Tampa, was we were within a game, or we were tied, or we had the lead for a little bit on a tiebreaker, but then the second half of the year is when that started slipping away. So obviously, Raheem Morris and the rest of the coaches, they've got to figure out ways to keep that from happening. Hold on to the lead that you got. Everyone's chasing you this year. We aren't chasing anybody else. So it's a different way of running the race when you're ahead and how you pace yourself.
Expectation we mentioned before. Have you on the air this afternoon with Dave there from Center Park Credit Union Stadium with Georgia State looking for a win today. Got to get a W, as we say, with Arkansas State. And then looking back to next Friday night, you'll be on the road with Dave. And so I'll see you in a couple of weeks, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, and a great, elimination game for the Bulldogs. So a lot of local folks will definitely be tuned in to some of the college action here. You had high school yesterday, college will dominate today, the pros tomorrow. Lots of reasons to watch.
All right, but appreciate it much. Talk to you next time, okay?
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks much. That is Harper LaBelle. He's our partner here on 97.5 Glory FM. Coming up next, we'll continue wrapping up things talking about high school, college, and pro sports on the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.5 Glory FM. Well, I'll get the right button pushed here in a minute here, so I got more for you coming up next year, and that's one of those live moments in sports with the blind guy is get the right button pushed here, and we'll get going more over here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show.
This is Matt Nix, president of Duplicating Products, where we're proud to celebrate 50 years of serving North Georgia. Since 1974, Duplicating Products has been dedicated to providing top-quality office solutions and exceptional service. Our success would not have been possible without the support of our incredible community and loyal customers. Thank you for being an important part of our journey. Find out more about us at duplicatingproducts.com/thank-you.
It's flu season in North Georgia, and now is the time to take care of yourself and get your flu shot at Riverside Pharmacy. Nobody wants to be hit with the flu bug, but if you haven't had your shot yet and you've been bitten with the flu, the pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy in Gainesville can help you too. They can fill your prescription with expert care and have you up and going before you know it. And they're your headquarters for all of your over-the-counter needs. Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
And back on the Saturday Morning Sports Show, got the right button pushed that time around. Now we go to the phones and talk to our partner, Dave Cohen, the voice of Georgia State. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm blessed, sir. How are you?
Hanging in there, getting ready for a return to Center Park Stadium today in Georgia State and Arkansas State. So we'll see how these two teams bounce back from tough losses. Georgia State obviously fell at James Madison, 38-7, as you heard last week, and wasn't much better for Arkansas State. They lost to Louisiana 55-19. So they've now will have played back-to-back games on the road once they get here today. And we'll see how Georgia State and Arkansas State respond. Again, both coming off what we would term bad losses. And so we're going to kick it off at 5 o'clock this afternoon. It's the first time Georgia State, at least in a home game that I can remember, has ever played at 5 o'clock. Airtime 4:30 on the radio network. We'll see how these teams come out of the locker room.
So how different is playing back at home? It's been a while.
Yep, it's been feast or famine. You know, as you know, we did not leave Atlanta for the first 5 weeks of the college football season after opening at Georgia Tech, and then playing 4 straight home games. And then the other side of that was the last month we've played 4 straight road games. It did not fare well in any of the 4. You know, losing at Marshall, losing at Appalachian State, losing at UConn, last week at James Madison. So it's nice to be back. 2 of the final 3 regular season games will be at Center Park Stadium. We've still got to go to Texas State next weekend, and then we'll be back with Coastal Carolina on the 30th to close out the season.
All right, so how you turn things around? I hear you talking with Harper, and you and I talking out there a lot of times about getting the running game and then doing something early and really stopping them on defense.
Well, you know, go back to the Georgia Southern game, and we rushed for, I think it was 29 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following week against Old Dominion at home, rushed for 57 yards. Ran the ball well, you know, for the most part, in the first 3 road games, Marshall, Appalachian State, and UConn. But then the running game disappeared again last Saturday up in Harrisonburg. We ran for, 46 yards. And, you know, if you've listened to the pregame shows that I've done with Coach McGee, obviously he knows better than I do. It's going to be hard to win a football game when your run game is producing 50 or less yards. We've got to be able to establish the run. But part of the reason is, you know, Freddie Brock is still running and healthy. Michael Dukes is still running and healthy, but C.J. Beasley has a high ankle sprain. He's sat out the last 2 games. I'm not sure what his status is. Jordan Ford has been bothered by a nagging injury. Not sure what his status is. Savion Wilkerson, who started the season with us, has decided to, from what I understand, take a red shirt, so he's not available. And so that leaves the running back room with 2 additional freshmen, DJ Murray Jr. and Phoenix Moss. Those guys are just getting their feet wet in college football. So you're really running. Your run game now is 2 guys, Freddie Brock and Michael Dukes. So it's kind of on their backs as to whether or not we can run for a significant amount of yardage today, dominate not dominate the run game, but put together enough of a run game that we can use the clock and keep our offense on the field.
I know you listened to our high school football game last night with Harper, Joe, Gary, and I. Have you ever seen a team that did not even attempt a pass in a game?
I'm trying to think, unless it was one of our games against Army.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It would have to be against a triple option type team, although one year we played Army. The game that we beat Army at Army, they actually put the ball in the air quite a bit more than I thought they would. But, yeah, you know, you see those teams. You don't see them as much anymore. Even Georgia Southern is not that kind of a team anymore, where they just dominate. Their offense just dominates by running that triple option or the, whatever they call it over the years.
David, doesn't it?
The wishbone.
It all starts in the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. And, that's another area for Georgia State anyway. And Coach McGee knows this, this being his first year. I mean, on both the offensive and the defensive line, Georgia State has to upgrade massively. They've got to get bigger. They've got to get stronger. They've got to get faster. They've got to get better skilled. I mean, it's all won along the trenches. You can have a great quarterback. If you can't protect him, that, from a percentage-wise, nullifies a percentage of his effectiveness.
Well, I heard from...
And especially, that's kind of, more of an issue this year because you don't have a Darren Granger back there who can really hurt you with his legs. I mean, Christian Veyer and Zach Gibson are both more pocket-style, pro-style quarterbacks. They can run a little bit, but nothing like what Darren could do. Darren could get out of situations and it end up not hurting Georgia State as much.
Yep, exactly. So I heard the post from Coach McGee, and you had his interview this past week. I think he's come to the conclusion now things that have got to get better at State and in a hurry when it comes to resources, when it comes to NIL, when it comes to be able to get more top players into Georgia State.
Well, coming from Georgia, where he was the last 8 years, he has seen the best facilities in college football and the best resources in college football. There's no question about that. And, that's the situation when you're in the Southeastern Conference week in and week out. And he was always on the outside looking in when Georgia would play a Sun Belt Conference school, which they did a number of times over the last 8 years. Now he's on the inside of the Sun Belt and seeing what the other schools are operating with. And I know we live in a what we'll call an SEC, Big 10, Big 12 centric world, but in our world, we look around and we see what Appalachian State is doing facility-wise and fundraising-wise. And we look around and we see what James Madison has from a facility standpoint, and Marshall, and even what Georgia Southern is doing down in Statesboro, and Louisiana Lafayette, out there in Lafayette, Louisiana. The upper echelon of the Sun Belt, Mike, is operating with the same mindset that a lot of SEC schools. They want to get bigger, newer, shinier. Georgia State is going to have to find a way to keep up. Center Park Stadium needs some work. It's going to constantly need to be upgraded. The GSU Convocation Center for basketball, great addition. Knock on wood, when baseball gets built on the old Fulton County Stadium site, that'll be a welcomed addition. But from a football standpoint, Georgia State has got to try and keep up. It is that quote-unquote trying to keep up with the Joneses situation. That's where we are in college athletics.
It's a race, no doubt about that. So today, 4:30 p.m. with the Panther pregame show, counting to kick off Arkansas State and Georgia State, the Red Wolves and the Panthers today, as it will be Harper Obell joining Dave Cohen for the play-by-play of the ball game. As I mentioned last night, but I'm sure part of it, today's homecoming, they want to paint it blue, so let's get a W, okay?
Hopefully, Mike, it would be nice to end the losing streak, and there's no better game to win than your homecoming game. Hopefully we'll have a good crowd out there today as well.
All right, see you then, but appreciate it much.
All right, Mike, thank you.
That is the voice himself. You can go to his X post is at GA State Voice, and he is the man, Dave Cohen. We got much more for you coming up next. We'll wrap things up on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM.
Hey, it's Coach Mark Richt here. Everyone knows defense wins championships. And if you're not using EMC Security to defend your home and family, you need to step up your game. They're who I use for home security and cameras, and you should too. I've scouted them all, and there's no better choice. With EMC Security's no contract and local service, they are a clear number one. So give them a call or visit them online at emcsecurity.com. That's emcsecurity.com.
Siphon Logistics' commitment is to provide you, the customer, with on-time pickup and delivery every time. Members of the Siphon family have been in the transportation business since 1984. The Siphon Logistics Transportation Professionals are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, providing maximum flexibility and options to produce the most successful shipping arrangements. Call Siphon Logistics at 770-287-8485 and take a look at their website at siphonlogistics.com.
And thanks for joining us here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show, 97.5 Glory FM. Congratulations to North Hall and Cherokee Bluff advancing to the second round of the state playoffs coming up next week. Cherokee Bluff will take on Luella, a team out of Henry County. North Hall takes on Upson Lee. The Knights from Thomasville will take on the Trojans on Friday right here on 97.5 Glory FM. That's the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Thanks to Sean Pender, to Harper LaBelle, and to Dave Cohen. And thanks for being with us here on your radio station for North Georgia Sports, 97.5 Glory FM.
97